What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Around Christmas of 2018, Insomniac Games, maker of Marvel's Spider-Man, the critically acclaimed and highly successful PS4 game, gave players something that they had been wanting for a long time: the now classic Spider-Man costume from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Fans around the world rejoiced as they were given this massive holiday surprise. Personally, I woke up to the news and it made my whole day amazing. See what I did there? The suit was just another addition to the dozens of costumes available for players to choose from, and as we all know, variety is the spice of life. So how could anyone be angry about this new suit being added to the collection? Well, this is the internet, and just when you thought that there was finally something that could make everyone happy, some self-righteous writer, there are quotations there, so take that title with a massive grain of salt, decided he needed to weigh in and piss on everyone's parade. Spider-Man PS4 will let you dress as the worst version of the character. Insomniac Games' Spider-Man is one of the best PlayStation 4 releases of 2018 and undoubtedly the best Spider-Man game of all time. Since its launch, the studio has supported the title with DLC that includes extra story missions and, more importantly, brand new outfits for everyone's favorite web-slinger. Thus far, we've had the Spider-Clan outfit from Marvel's Mangaverse, Spider UK from Edge of Spider-Verse, and numerous other cool costumes. It's been great. However, we're now hit with a bit of a rough spot from Spidey's outfit releases. In the newest update for the PS4 game, Sony and Insomniac will include the suit from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, in which Peter Parker and his crime fighter alter ego were played by the absolute charisma void, Tobey Maguire. For those that grew up with these movies and enjoyed them, this is great news, and I'm happy for them. They get to cut about New York in a Spidey outfit that they know and love, and it's free, so you can't really complain. But I can complain, and I will, because unfortunately for many others out there, this only serves to remind us of that sad 6-year period where everyone was so desperate for a superhero movie that didn't make them embarrassed to be a comic book fan, and they double-thinked themselves into believing that this trilogy was good. It wasn't. Let me stop you right there, Chet. That 6-year gap gave us X2 X-Men United, Spider-Man 2, and Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. Stick to bitching about games for the lulz and leave movie talk to someone more qualified. Now, if Insomniac Games decided to listen to the snarky uninformed that writes for the outdated website GameSpot, Spider-Man wouldn't have been the hit it was. The game sold almost 9 million copies in the 5 months that it has been out since the writing of this video, and it placed 6 on the best-selling of 2018 chart and is the highest console exclusive, edging out God of War. By all measures, the game was a massive hit, but its success goes deeper than just critical praise and sales figures. Spider-Man's success can also be seen in its publisher's online presence and constant customer service, which is rare for this day and age. In 2018, it was common and often suggested that fans be attacked, demoralized, and shat upon by those of positions in power when they, the fans, want something different from the direction set out by the creators and owners of said property. Are or were you a fan of Doctor Who? If you didn't like the newest season, what were you called? How were you treated? Not well by the media. Are or were you a fan of Star Trek? If you didn't like Star Trek Discovery, what were you called? How were you treated? Again, not well by the media. Are or were you a Star Wars fan before the corporate buyout and you didn't like the mishandling of the characters and the direction the franchise was going in? What were you called? How were you treated? Man baby, misogynist, not important. As a lot of people wake up to the lie of the current Star Wars era from Disney, they begin to see that all of this overt, intentional ideology being forced into Star Wars was out in the open the whole time. Recently, an old video of Kathleen Kennedy has resurfaced detailing her master plan. I'll spare you the boring parts, i.e. most of it, and share a quote. This quote and article comes from our good friends over at Jedi Temple Archives. Back in 2015, about 2 months before the release of The Force Awakens, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy was invited to a panel at the Fortune, the Most Powerful Women event, and Kathleen Kennedy spoke at length about her career, women in the industry, and also about Star Wars. The video of this panel has been online for more than 3 years, but it has fewer than 9,000 views and went mostly unnoticed. However, it's been recently rediscovered and is now making the rounds. Of special interest to the Star Wars collecting community is the following, which is a direct quote taken from the video.
I think the interesting path we've had is the conversation that took place around consumer products, because there were a lot of companies that were in place who, frankly, didn't initially feel that Star Wars was for girls. And when you have a company...
Star Wars fans out here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have a company situation where between Lucasfilm and Disney, we were all looking at this situation and saying, no, with Star Wars, we have to change this. We have to make sure that we create products that are, in a sense, appealing to both boys and girls. What's wrong with that?
So what collectors have suspected for a long time now appears to have weight and some validity. Lucasfilm and Disney are notably involved to tell their licensees, like Hasbro, what to make, and probably also what not to make. If you shop where toys were sold, you likely witnessed the endless repacks of Finn, Cassian, Rey, and Jyn. While complete supposition, it's probably that figures such as Rose and Holdo were most likely not Hasbro's idea. Hasbro is a company which does have decades of experience making Star Wars toys after all, but some of the character selection is presumably made on the insistence of Lucasfilm/Disney. And unfortunately, we know how that all turned out. Just look at Entertainment Earth's Valentine's Day offer for a bouquet of roses. Now let's stop there for a minute and talk about the dozen roses for Valentine's Day. When did we start sending flowers for Valentine's Day? Well, according to Pro Flowers, the history of giving your loved one Valentine's Day flowers comes from the old-fashioned custom of sending floral bouquets to pass on nonverbal messages. Introduced in the 18th century by Charles II of Sweden, each flower had a specific meaning attached to it, making it possible to have an entire conversation using only flowers. Today, people continue to send flowers on special occasions or to express sentiments of love and admiration. If flowers are meant to express sentiments of love and admiration, what does sending a dozen rose ticos express? Hatred? Anger? A display of clever marketing in an attempt to make back the money you've lost over bad Star Wars decisions that come from the top? Just for the hell of it, let's look at Entertainment Earth's listing for the Rose Tico bouquet. $240? Jesus, what a ripoff! That comes out to $20 a figure, or the exact same price it debuted over a year ago. Note that Amazon sells this figure for $8 with free shipping, and other sellers charge $4 plus shipping. Either way, the figure is overpriced and underdesired. You can get the 3 3/4 inch version for the low price of $1, Bob. What a deal! If you were wondering what a dozen real roses run, about $20 at the time of this recording. That means you can get a full dozen flowers for the woman or man in your life, or you can buy them one rose tico at full price. Which is a better sign of true love? My money's on the one not dressed in a potato sack. Now for those out there that want to use the excuse that the entire toy industry is dying and that we should leave Star Wars alone, let's take a look at some all new, all interesting facts. You know those things that your feelings don't outweigh? Again, our friends from Jedi Temple Archives posted something rather exciting last week, and I think you'll find it interesting. US toy market shrinks 2% in 2018. Action figure sales increase by 10%. Earlier this week, the NPD Group released their numbers for the toy market in the USA. I apologize for the interruption, but I just want to give a little clarification for those who don't know who the NPD Group is. The NPD Group Incorporated, formerly the National Purchase Diary Panel, and NPD Research Incorporated, is an American market research company founded in 1966, based in Port Washington, New York. In 2017, the NPD ranked as the 8th largest market research company in the world. The NPD Group operates in 20 countries across more than 20 industries. NPD measures how consumers shop across all channels, sourcing data from both retailers and consumers to quantify sales, share, distribution, and velocity. The market research company collects point-of-sale data, tracking retailers, distributors, and food service operators, measuring what's selling at 1,250 retailers across 300,000 stores. NPD also interviews 12 million customers annually and tracks millions of their receipts. Following the same consumers over time to understand the shifting tastes and trends, NPD helps retailers, manufacturers, financial analysts, and the public sector measure performance, predict future performance, improve marketing, development, and identify business and consumer trends and market opportunities. NPD tracks spending and has dedicated advisors to analyze in more than 20 industries. The only reason I tell you that is so no one is confused as to why this analysis holds more weight than your favorite writer from the Mary Sue or Forbes giving Disney ZJs in the back. What's a ZJ? Well, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. Back to the article. As mentioned above, analysts are quite happy with the numbers, even though the market declined by 2%. Much worse was feared in 1 year after Toys R Us. The NPD Group lists 11 super categories, and here 4 out of the 11 categories grew. The big winners in 2018 are right in front of you. And as you can see, action figures and accessories grew 10%. But what about Star Wars? Star Wars was not mentioned in the report. However, we do have numbers and various statements by Hasbro and Disney, and using that, we can with some certainty say that 2018 must have been a horrible year for the Star Wars action figures. While we're still waiting on Hasbro's fourth quarter 2018 numbers, we do know that in the first 3 quarters, their partner brands saw declining sales. In the third quarter, partner brands were down by 37% even. Now, partner brands also include dolls like Frozen and Disney princesses and a few other things, but Star Wars is certainly the biggest player here. Hasbro also has said in their statement that Marvel and Beyblade is growing, and now we can see that these two lines together with Mattel's Jurassic World line must have grown quite a bit in 2018. That, however, leads to one conclusion. The numbers for Star Wars action figures must be horrible when, despite healthy growth for Marvel and Beyblades, and overall industry growth for action figures, and the partner brands are still down 37% in the third quarter. If the overall action figure category sees 10% growth, but Star Wars is still declining, then something is very wrong. Without Force Friday in September or any new movie in December, there was certainly not any push for Star Wars toys during the holiday season, and that means the number for the fourth quarter will probably be even worse. I've been saying something is very wrong for quite some time, but have been treated like Chicken Little. No Force Friday and no film in December. Okay. But there was a Star Wars film in May. What was it called? Oh yeah, Pointless, a Star Wars story. But it was a hit according to the shill, journalists in the pocket of Disney. Look, we know something is very wrong with Star Wars, and it goes deeper than the merchandise. But Star Wars and merchandise go hand in hand. When one is healthy, so too is the other. Star Wars inadvertently created the modern movie tie-in, and now that Star Wars deviates in an attempt to correct transgressions of the past, Star Wars is failing hard. I went out into the field to see where Star Wars currently is and could barely find it. It's been shrunk to almost nothing. And it's not just me. A lot of people have been reaching out to let us know on social media that the Star Wars section has become this generation's David Blaine. Here's what I found myself. So here I am at my local Target, and Star Wars is a little smaller than I remember. That's what she said. So the newest thing we see is the Galaxy of Adventure figures, and we see a lot of old figures on the shelves, but you'll notice there are less pegs for Star Wars. And I wanted to just take a moment to show you this Jedi lightsaber, as it's called, because Pablo Hidalgo loves to call it Rey's lightsaber, but there's Luke, and there's Anakin, the true owners of it. But as you saw right there really wasn't much to my Star Wars section. Normally I can make 20-30 minute videos about Star Wars figures, but I can't because there's just not many left. And it's not because they sold out. They clearance them, and still, people don't buy them. I don't know if it's just me, but it looks like Kathleen Kennedy's plan sort of, failed? It's so sickening to hear everything we, the Star Wars community, have been saying about the direction of Star Wars for years, now be reconfirmed by Kathleen Kennedy herself. I'm not sure if this clip will be regarded as the Zapruder film of the hit on Star Wars, but it should be, because Cray Cray KK's agenda has been laid out again. The way it was handled and reported by those on the right side of Star Wars is sickening. Do you remember the Where's Rey hashtag? Probably not. But sites like The Verge and Time propagated the lie that Hasbro was suppressing Rey from shining in the Star Wars figure line. You want to know where she really was? The Rey Starkiller base action figure was released on September 4th, 2015 as part of the Star Wars Force Friday event. It was one of the 12 single-carded figures released around the world as multiple companies launched their product lines based on The Force Awakens. So she was there since day one, but because of some stupid writer, or new fan, that doesn't know how Star Wars works made a fuss, it became an online movement that hurt Hasbro. That sounds eerily similar to Kathleen Kennedy. She doesn't know how Star Wars stayed relevant for 35 years, made a fuss and infused an agenda, had a bunch of jilted journalists with bad news come to her defense to attack fans, and voila! We have a Star Wars that no one wants. The fans have been shunned, kids don't want it, and the journalists scrape up crumbs hoping they can write stupid articles to get clicks. What was it that Kathleen Kennedy said about her Star Wars? Oh yeah, I remember. She said, "I have a responsibility to the company that I work with. I don't feel that I have a responsibility to cater in some way to those particular fans. I would never just seize on saying, well, this is a franchise that has appealed primarily to men for many years, and I therefore owe men something." Damning evidence. Straight from the horse's mouth. At the beginning of this video, I talked about Spider-Man and the benefit of giving the fans what they want. I know that personally, post the release of the Raimi suit, I started a new game, dedicating more hours that I don't have to try and replay the story in that costume. You'd think that'd be all she wrote. Great game, okay DLC, and an awesome Christmas surprise. But then something happened. About a week before this video came out, Insomniac surprised us again with not one, but two suits. The amazing Bagman and Spider-Man's Future Foundation costume. Again, this bonus content got me to fire up Spider-Man and start swinging around New York City in what I consider Spidey's third best suit. Little extras like this make the consumer feel appreciated. I now know that when I buy an Insomniac game, I'm not going to get shafted like Fallout 76 fans or attacked like Diablo fans. No, with Insomniac games, I'm going to get fun interaction, a great game, and support to get me coming back. In an era where there are so many things vying for my time and my money, it's the small touches like this that grab my attention. The anti-consumer sentiment that is not only displayed but promoted by Disney and Lucasfilm in regards to Star Wars is sickening. And there are millions of people out there who feel the same way and have been shunned by Star Wars. Again, like the Doctor Who and Star Trek fans who voice their displeasure, they are met with pejoratives, aka being called horrible things by the people who run the show, and then are tag-teamed by writers undeserving of being called journalists. There are 1,000,001 shill articles out there attacking the fans because it's the hot thing to do. But I hope it's worth it to them, because the tide has turned in favor of the fans, and once companies realize that and acquiesce, those same writers that started online smear campaigns against the consumers to defend the illogical choices said company made will be left with egg on their face, a smaller audience, and access to movies and TV shows no one wants anymore. So how do you feel about the words that came out of Kathleen Kennedy's mouth? No distortion, no editing, straight from the source. Personally, I felt it coming since 2015. Some people said I read too much into it. I think I just read between the lines. And being an actual fan of Star Wars, like most of you out there that watch this video, and if you're not, welcome to the channel, great to have you. I saw it in the retail end, and it surprised me because Star Wars has never performed like this. People want to use the excuse, well, it's not a movie year, there's no Force Friday, X, Y, and Z. But let me tell you something. Back in 2008, when the only Star Wars thing released was that Clone Wars movie that nobody really saw, Hasbro put out this thing called the Big Millennium Falcon. It was roughly $150, and people bought it even though there was no movie year. Now you can say the economy changed, and that's true. But in 2010, Hasbro released a huge vintage collection for The Empire Strikes Back 30th anniversary. Those toys, those figures, those ships all sold out and now demand a high price on the secondary market. Again, this was 2010. The only Star Wars thing out there was the Clone Wars on TV. There was no new movie. There was nothing. Just fans dedicated to Star Wars, buying up merchandise left and right because they loved it. It was a good quality product, and Hasbro knew what to sell them. There's a reason why they still make Han Solo figures. There's a reason why they still make Luke Skywalker figures. There's a reason why they still make Princess Leia figures. They're characters that people love and that are organically popular. Based on what Kathleen Kennedy says and her agenda-driven politics that she has infused to Star Wars, we can see why these products just sit on shelves and why people don't love the new characters. But that's it for today, folks. This has been a lot longer than I planned. We've been pumping out quite a few long videos, longer than I expected. And you know what? I'm proud of all of them. I'm very happy with them. And I'm honored that over 10,000 new people have joined the channel in 2019 alone. So hello and welcome to all of you out there. It's been very exciting, and it's been a very positive experience. So welcome to the group. Welcome to the Fandom Menace. Get involved. Have some fun. Hang out with us. If you're a super fan, if you liked what you saw, hey, check us out on Patreon. $1 a month goes a long way. We give you a bonus podcast, commentaries, you can appear on the show, and a whole lot more. But if you can't afford it, not a big deal. Just join our Facebook page, get involved with the community, have some fun. We are a fun community. We are a great fan community. And you know what? Don't let anyone out there tell you opposite. If you're a member of the Fandom Menace, be proud. Because you guys are what kept Star Wars alive for such a long time. And while Disney is trying to destroy it and change it and bastardize it, we're not going to allow that to happen because we want to keep Star Wars around for another 42 years. But at the rate Disney's going, I don't think it'll make it another 5. So as always, thanks for watching, and be excellent to each other.